Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of JD Talks NASCAR. On this episode, I think you all know what the main topic is, the main topic of discussion from this weekend's All Star race, and that is the viral fight between Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Kyle Busch. I'm not going to waste any time getting right into it. I know that's what everybody wants to hear about. I mean, the race was what it was. Um, Kind of disappointing, honestly. I thought the race itself would be a bit better than it was. And I know it's an all star race, it's only 200 laps, but it was a little disappointing. But then afterwards happened. You know, it looked like Fox was going to go off the air, and then heck broke loose, I should say. You know, it looked like right after. Well, let's start at what caused the fight. Um, it was like lap two, actually the start of the race. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Shot the gap three wide between, I think it was Denny and Kyle Busch. I think Kyle was on the top, Denny was on the bottom. Didn't look like Ricky touched anyone, to be honest with you. I I mean it was a wild move on lap one to take it three wide, but it's not like I don't think Ricky was in the wrong at first. I thought Ricky kind of shoved Kyle up into the fence, but that's, going back, watching on boards, that wasn't what happened. He didn't make contact with Kyle. Um, but anyway, so Ricky shoots the gap and Kyle gets up into the fence. In my opinion, I mean, I just don't see where Ricky did anything wrong there. Next corner, Kyle boots Ricky, and and definitely, if Ricky did something, it definitely wasn't worth ending his race two laps into over. And Kyle boots him up the track, and basically, I mean, it definitely ended his day as Ricky's car was destroyed. So, that happens. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. parks his car in Kyle Busch's pit box, which was kind of funny. You know, it reminded me of something Kyle would do, and I think Ricky said that when he got interviewed about it. And then it looked like he told Kyle's crew chief Randall Burnett that he's going to be waiting on him after the race, waiting on Kyle. So a lot of drivers say stuff like that, and then they don't back it up. So I was kind of like, we'll see. Um, but we did see, we did see, as the checker flag waves, Joey Logano wins the race itself, which nobody even talks about or has talked about all week long. Um, and uh, Jordan Bianchi of the Athletic got the best video of all this. He finds Kyle when he gets out of the car and follows him back to his hauler. And when Kyle turns the corner, it's like a WWE promo that they're running. Ricky Stenhouse is just standing there with his legs crossed, waiting on Kyle at his hauler. And that's when I thought, okay, this can legit. This is legit about to be something. And Kyle walks up to him. They talk to him. Uh, Kyle still believes that Ricky got into him. Ricky says he didn't touch him. I'm sure Ricky had time to look at every angle possible because his race ended on lap two. Kyle made it all the way to the end, so he had to sit there for 200 laps fuming about it. So I'm quite sure that Stenhouse saw every angle, and he said, "Look at the replay. I didn't touch you. I didn't touch anybody." And so one thing leads to another. They have a conversation for about 10, 20 seconds. And obviously, Ricky didn't think that his point was getting through to Kyle. And Kyle didn't believe it, I guess. And Ricky lands a punch. There was some controversy at the beginning. Did he actually land the punch? The camera work on the actual broadcast didn't look like he did, but then you go back and look at angles on X and on Facebook and that kind of thing, and from each reporter you can see that the first punch did indeed land, and I think Kyle actually landed one back. I don't know if it was on Ricky's dad or on Ricky, but it was definitely a scrap. And then you have team members getting involved. Uh, you never want to see parents getting involved, but that happened. So it was just a melee. Honestly, it was the first one. I think I just touched on when was the last fight in the Cup Series, and I think it was Gregson and Chastain that I'm thinking of last year. But then this happens, and this one has blew up. Everybody's talking about it. I kind of I waited as long as I could to do this episode because I wanted to see if they were going to have like any suspensions or anything, but that has not came out yet as I am recording. Because I knew this would be the focal point of this episode, but that's why I didn't want to do it right after it happened. I kind of wanted to dissect what happened, go back, look look at all the different angles. And Bob Parker's man, a Fox. Bob is the goat. If you all have have seen, he was also one of the media members that got a great angle, and Bob ends up getting pushed during the scuffle, and the picture of him, like the recording he has, you can see him getting taken out as well. And it was all just a hilarious situation. I'm laughing just thinking about it, but also, it shows how I think Stenhouse. I think actually both these drivers have had pent up frustration, and I think you could tell that by the quote from Kyle Busch when he said, "I don't give a blank. I suck just as bad as you. But let's go." And that was in response to Ricky Stenhouse saying, "I'm going to wreck you at Charlotte." And I think that goes back to I think if Kyle Busch is running like Kyle Busch is used to running, I don't even think this happens because I don't think that he stuffed Stenhouse in the fence. I think, to be honest with you, that's just my opinion. I could be totally wrong, but Kyle Busch is a guy, and I know he gets a lot of hate, but he's a guy that races pretty clean. And yes, I mean I know he had the incident with Ron Hornaday in the Truck Series several years back. But overall, he's not a type of guy that the garage classifies as a dirty driver. And I feel like that if he was running like he's used to running, this wouldn't have happened. So that's just my opinion. You all let me know what you think. Um, it's hard to pick sides, but on this one, I mean, I really like Kyle Busch. I have liked Kyle Busch for a while. I think he's one of the best talents in the garage at this very moment and of all time. But I think he's in the wrong in this situation. I get that he's frustrated that he got ran up into the fence, or as he said, got ran up into the fence. But going back watching the replays, Stenhouse didn't make contact with anybody. I think Kyle, he said in a post race interview with Bob Parkers that he was just tired of getting ran over. But the problem I have with this is nobody touched him. He he chose not to lift. Granted, was that an aggressive move at the beginning of the race? Yes, I think it was. But at the same time, I think you saw in the race it's hard to pass that North Wilkesboro in this car. So the restarts are really where people make ground up, and Ricky was going at it from the jump. So we'll see what happens at Charlotte. Is this over? I don't know. I think it'll depend how if I was NASCAR, I wouldn't suspend anybody. I think this is what makes the sport awesome. This is what NASCAR is missing. And I might be in the minority saying that, but I think if you're talking to NASCAR fans, they're going to agree with you. That this is what the sport was built on: rivalries, feuds. Does it have to be a fist fight every weekend? No, absolutely not. But the rivalries of NASCAR is what makes it, in my opinion. That's a step of building it, and I think this is good for the sport. It's people see this and they're like, man, that's a NASCAR fight. That is NASCAR right there. That is what where as a casual fan who hasn't watched in a couple years, you know what I'm saying? Like if you watch NASCAR back in the day, you're like, now that's what I want to see. I want to see more of this. Maybe they tune in next week hoping to see the same thing. But overall, I think, I mean, it had a spot on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN, everybody on Twitter on Sunday night, which is now X, I should say, but everyone Sunday night was tweeting it, sharing it. The Jordan Bianchi video has had like over 4 million views yesterday when I saw it. I'm not sure if it has more since then. I'm sure it does. It's blew up, but everybody's everybody's loving it. So NASCAR's rolling. The on track product this week was honestly disappointing, as I touched on a little bit in the opening, but it 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 got overshadowed definitely by the fight. But you all let me know what you think. I mean, like I said, this is all that anybody's talking about. Rightfully so. When I watched that All Star race, I was a little bit underwhelmed, and you all probably just tuned in to hear me talk about the fight. But if you didn't, and you want to hear about the race, I'll go ahead and get into that, and of course, we'll get into our Charlotte predictions after this little race recap. I'm going to make it quick on the race recap this week because one, it was a way shorter race than normal, only 200 laps. Um, and we'll get into it. But to start off with the All Star Open, and this was to race your way into the All Star race. The top two advanced, and then we had a fan vote winner. I'm just going to go over quickly. The only eventful thing that happened in the Open was Austin Cindric and Carson Hocevar got into a little bit of a spat. It wasn't a fight; they just had a conversation, but looked like Hocevar made it 3 wide on Cindric and Gregson, and he did lean on Cindric. I'm pretty sure, and Cindric then had to go up into Gregson and ends up ending Cindric's day. He ends up smacking the fence pretty hard. But that was really the only eventful thing that happened in the Open. Ty Gibbs dominated it. He might have led every lap, if not every lap. It was close to every lap. And he wins the All Star Open. Bubba Wallace ran second, so therefore he advanced to the All Star race. And shout out to Noah Gragson, who won the fan vote. I thought this was one of the best parts of the night. As a Noah Gragson fan, I was super happy to see it for him. He's ran so well this year. He's done all the right things. He loves his fans. Obviously, his fans love him. So this is the second straight year that he's won the fan vote. So you love to see that. He's a great guy, great competitor. You could argue he's outdone his equipment this year. The point standings might not show it because of the penalty they had at the beginning of the year, but he's done a very great job, and I think he'll continue to be a top 10 threat about every week. So shout out to Noah and his fans for getting that. And then right as the All Star race starts, of course, we've got the Kyle Busch Ricky Stenhouse battle. I already touched on what happened there. Don't want to repeat myself. William Byron, who I thought looked really fast early. He was one of the cars that could actually pass very early on. He gets loose, bounces off the bump, I think in turn 4, and breaks his toe link, and he's pretty much done. I think he finished 14 laps down, and was a disappointing end to his day. Joey Logano led it halfway. Joey Logano dominated this event. He led 199 of 200 laps. I touched on, last week I touched on the tires. The soft tires held up for the people that took them. And in this particular All-Star race, you had the normal tire, a softer tire, and then a wet tire that you could choose from. They didn't have to use the wet during the race. So it was basically down to soft or regular tire. And, some people, I think everybody wanted to be on that soft tire this race because it did not wear as much as they thought it would. It picked up the speeds for everyone, but it didn't wear like they thought it was going to. A lot of the crew chiefs in the garage were thinking, that it was the temperature. It was kind of cooler. It was at nighttime. That might be why the tire did not wear like it was supposed to. But it was disappointing as a fan. I really thought, and that's really why I picked Denny to win it, was because I touched on it in my prediction last week that Um, you know, when it came to saving tires, the tires wearing, Denny's the best guy for that. And I thought, as did everyone in the garage, from my understanding, thought that this tire was going to wear significantly over time, kind of like not as overbearing as the Bristol race, but similar to that. And sadly, that just never happened. Goodyear is really trying, and I applaud them for that. Because I think they, the argument is, when it heats up midday on a short track, this tire could possibly work really, really well, and I hope it does. But just for the All Star race and it being at night, I was really disappointed, as was everyone else. I'm sure Goodyear themselves were, because it was still really hard to pass, because everybody's tires didn't wear that much. So just wanted to touch on that a little bit. And then Ty Gibbs and Kyle Busch, get into it. Kyle Busch took blame for this one. It looks like Ty Gibbs just checked up a little early there. Busch got into the back of him and spun him around. No harm, no foul for anybody other than Ty losing his track position. And then, that was the last eventful thing that happened until the fight. Joey Logano wins the All Star race at North Wilkesboro. Has Ford found something? That's one question that you can ask. As we continue, Chris Buescher continues to run really well. Of course, Brad Keselowski won at Darlington, and now Logano wins the All Star race. And I will say, my prediction of Logano not making the playoffs could be an all-timer if this holds. I mean, he's not, he won the All-Star race, but this is not a points-paying race, so it doesn't lock him into the playoffs. Um, it might be time to start thinking about it. We're almost halfway. So that could be one of my best calls of all time, because going into the season, everyone was talking about how good Logano was going to be. It was his year. I was just not on board with that. And I'm still not. They have not showed speed consistently for me to believe that they're a playoff team. And they won this. They dominated this All Star race. Yeah, sure. But go do it in a points race, and then we'll talk. I'm still of the belief that they just don't have it. I don't think Penske in general does, and they could go out and prove me wrong and win the Coke 600 this year like they did last year. But something is off. RFK looks really good, but Penske just isn't there yet for whatever reason. Now, that's pretty much it for North Wilkesboro. I mean, I told you it was going to be a quick recap. Only a 200 lap race that was led by Logano, 199 of those laps. So, there's only so much you can talk about during that. On to some news tidbits. Stewart-Haas Racing. That's something I want to touch on. It's rumored could end up selling their charters. We could see the end of Stewart-Haas Racing this year. They could cut down to 2 cars, or they could sell all 4 charters. It's kind of up in the air right now. I thought Kevin Harvick, as he was practicing for Kyle Larson this weekend, had a very telling quote, and it was, that he was asked about how it was different, like between Hendrick and SHR, and he said, "Well, it was good to see the owner 2 times in 2 weeks." And you go back to Ryan Preece earlier in the season, talking about Noah, Josh Berry, and Trace Briscoe having these meetings, and Preece not knowing anything about it, pre-race meetings. I just think the doors are falling off over there at SHR, and I know Gregson has ran well this year. He's been the one highlight. Barry, he's ran decent, Briscoe decent, but it seems like the end is coming. I don't know if it's cutting down to 2 teams or selling off and getting out of NASCAR completely. But it looks like the end is nearing for SHR for whatever reason. But that'll be an interesting thing to follow as time goes on. To see what happens. To see, does Dale Jr. finally decide to get a charter? I would lean no, just because the price of them right now. He's lenient on not wanting to spend that much money to get into the Cup. Could 23XI potentially get another one? It's possible, I guess, but I don't think Denny, I would be shocked if he really wanted to bring in another car, but we'll see. Um, Patriotic paint schemes for this weekend's Coke 600. I'm a big paint scheme guy. Alex Bowman's looks awesome. Noah Gragson's looks awesome. Anybody that does an American paint scheme has my salute. I love the vibes around the Coke 600 for Memorial Day. It's a great time to get together with family and celebrate, and just I'm thankful for everyone that has ever served, and that has you know put their lives on the line for the betterment of this country. And it's another way to honor them. I love how NASCAR honors fallen soldiers on their NASCARs during this weekend. I think that's one of the awesome things NASCAR does. So thank you all. If you're listening and you're a veteran, really appreciate you all, as does NASCAR. And hope you all enjoy a relaxing day, and hopefully can end it by watching the Coke 600 at 6 o'clock on Sunday night. Last year I went to this race. It was very fun. Got to tour the Hall of Fame last year. Made some new fans for the podcast. We all wore my podcast T-shirts and had questions about that. And if you have now been listening for a year and I met you there, thank you all for that. I think it's been a long ride, but it's been fun. And this next gen car at Charlotte, there's just magic there. Both times they've been on the oval, produced great races. The first one was a tad bit better. Denny won that one. Ryan Blaney won last year, but it was still awesome racing. A mile and a half with this next gen car, I think it'll knock it out of the park again. And that's coming off of momentum building with the big Stenhouse Jr. Kyle Busch fight. NASCAR is going to be on prime time. Rumors going around that former President Donald Trump will be in attendance. So I think it'll be a big deal. I think I think there'll be a lot of eyes on the Coke 600, and I think NASCAR will deliver. So now, all three series are at Charlotte this weekend. That's the first time that's happened in a couple weeks. However, I love the triple header weekends. So we've got Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. So we'll see how that goes. I think all three. I think Charlotte just delivers in general. I think the Cup race will actually be the best of the weekend, but the trucks always race well there, and the Xfinity car is fun to watch as well. So I think last year Xfinity was a fuel mileage race, which is pretty wild. But we'll see what happens. I think as far as the truck series goes, I think Rajah Caruth finds his way into victory lane for his second win of the year. He hasn't ran as well these last couple weeks, but we go back to a mile and a half. I can't sit here and pick Corey Heim and Christian Eckes every single week. I think it goes without saying you're going to have to go through those two to get the win. But I like Rajah to do it. I think he wins this week. Xfinity, there's a ton. Well, not a ton, but there's several Cup guys doing Xfinity this week. You've got Chase Elliott, you've got Eric Almirola, you've got Noah Gragson, and Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch was a surprise entrant that just got announced. I don't know how fast he'll be in that RCR car, but coming off all the stuff that's happened this week, it would be something for him to end up in victory lane for sure. Noah Gragson, I'm excited to see how he does in the 30 car. So I think we'll see. He's in a Ford. We'll see how he does. I don't think he would hop in a ride if it was going to be not competitive, but we'll see. Who do I like in Xfinity? It's hard to go against Kyle Busch, but I just don't. He's never raced an RCR car in Xfinity. Now, Austin Hill and Jesse Love have both won races this year in Xfinity, But as far as mile and a halves go, I don't think they have. So I lean to go with um, give me Chase Elliott. He'll have the Hendrick car um, this week. I think he'll have the best car. So give me Chase Elliott to win at Charlotte in the Xfinity race. That is not in the Cup. Now, Cup race. This one, I think, Charlotte is definitely a hard one to pick a winner on just because it's so long of a race. You can say if you're really good on mile and a halves, you should run well here. I would agree, but I'm down to two guys, and it would not surprise me if either one of these guys won. Um, and those two are Tyler Reddick and William Byron. Um, and just with the speed he's shown this year, they've both been really fast. But I like Tyler Reddick to win the Coke 600. He was super fast last year, uh, and he's even better this year. That team has really came together, and I think he bounces back after the debacle at Darlington, battling for the lead there. I think Tyler Reddick gets the win at the Coke 600. You all let me know what you think. Uh, Next week's episode will probably be a little longer since it is the longest race of the year, and I think it'll be excitement filled. I think they'll be racing all over the track, just like there has been the two times they've been at the Oval in this car. And y'all let me know if you're excited. Let me know your Memorial Day plans. And, I'm going to rank this Wilkesboro race a 5 out of 10. And then if you add in the post race excitement, then it goes up to a 10. But I'm talking on track product, 5 out of 10. You all let me know what you think. I'll post the question in the Spotify episode. So if you listen on Spotify, you can answer that. I appreciate everyone that has done that and continues to do that. And, until next week where we're recapping what I expect to be a heck of a Coke 600. This has been JD Talks NASCAR. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and of course also on YouTube. And if you have been waiting for this episode and asking for it, I'm excited for you all to hear this one. So thank you all. And this has been JD Talks NASCAR.